So, what if power wasn't just a job you could leave at the end of the day? What if it was something deeper, something essential to your very soul? Today we're going to dig into a really profound theory that suggests for some, losing power isn't a political defeat, it's more like a spiritual death.
This one sentence, this really holds the key to the whole thing. A throne that becomes destiny, a fall that leads to humiliation, and a public that worships the winner and curses the loser. This is the tragic cycle we're here to unpack.
So this whole idea has a name, the Eastern curse of power. It's basically a mindset where political power isn't just a temporary role you play, it becomes your absolute existential identity. It's not what you do, it's who you are. Okay, so how does a curse like this even begin? Well, it all starts with the person sitting on the throne.
And this distinction is absolutely crucial. See, if power is just a task, you can step away from it. But if it's an existential part of who you are, losing it isn't like losing a job. It's like a piece of you dies. The power and the person have totally merged.
And this slide really lays it out. On one side, you've got power as your very identity. It's an eternal destiny. But on the other side, it's just a function, right? A temporary task that eventually gets passed on to someone else. This one difference in worldview changes absolutely everything.
And that's the psychological trap, right there. They don't just want power forever. They genuinely come to believe it is forever. It's their destiny. In their mind, there's no life after power. It's an absolute.
This belief in an eternal destiny, well, it just sets up an inevitable catastrophic conflict. Because what on earth happens when eternal suddenly comes to an end? Which brings us to the second stage, the fall. And this isn't a political setback we're talking about, it's a personal apocalypse. The source material uses the term existential catastrophe. I mean, just think about how strong that language is. This isn't about losing an election, it's about your entire reality just collapsing. The first reaction is total denial and shock, a complete inability to process that the self, the self that was defined by power doesn't exist in that way anymore.
So how do they cope? Well, two really desperate paths emerge. First, there's what's called the illusion of return, plotting a comeback at any cost, even if it means rivers of chaos and blood, just to get that lost part of their soul back. And if that doesn't work, it's groveling, begging for any tiny crumb of recognition from the new people in charge just to feel relevant again. But a leader's psychology is only one part of this trap. The final, crucial piece of the puzzle is society itself, the very culture that reinforces this curse and keeps it going.
I mean, just look at the difference in values. It is stark. In one model, your status is all about raw power, guns, thrones, the whole shebang. But in the other, it's about competence, accomplishment, and the ability to return to a dignified civilian life. This judgment from society is what hammers home that core belief. Without power, you are nothing.
And this is where the curse becomes truly bleak. If society only values who's in power right now, what happens to a former official, no matter how competent they once were? They are reduced to a shadow of a man. That phrasing is just chilling. It suggests a complete loss of substance, of personhood. They become invisible, like a ghost, just hanging around the edges of the new power structure. And society doesn't just ignore the fallen, it actively takes part in their humiliation. Watching the former leader beg at the doors of the new one becomes this strange kind of cultural ritual. It's a way to confirm the new ruler's dominance. The masses literally sanctify the victor by cursing the defeated.
And so all the pieces just lock into place. You've got the leader's mindset, the trauma of the fall, and society's judgment. And together, they create this perfect, self-perpetuating cycle. So these are the three pillars holding up the entire structure of the curse. A throne that's seen as destiny, a fall that feels like total annihilation, and a society that celebrates the winner by tearing down the loser. It's just a perfect, tragic loop.
But what's the ultimate cost of this curse? Not for the leader, but for the whole country. If politics is only about preserving your own existence, what happens to the actual business of governing? Policies, infrastructure, the public good?
Well, all of that just evaporates. Politics becomes a theater of instincts, a raw, primal struggle for dominance and survival completely detached from any real project for the country. It's not about what you can build, it's only about who can hold on to the throne.
Which leaves us with one final kind of haunting question. If this curse is so deeply embedded in both the leaders and the society, can that cycle ever truly be broken? Can a culture ever learn to separate the person from the position? It's a vital question to ponder. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.